Here's something that would have seemed impossible 2 years ago. Open-source AI models are now matching or beating proprietary ones on specific benchmarks. And the companies that built those proprietary models, they're not panicking. They're investing billions in open source themselves. This change isn't just about competition, it fundamentally changes who controls the most powerful technology on the planet. Open source AI used to be the underdog play, a way for smaller teams to experiment while OpenAI and Google dominated with their lockdown models. But in 2026, that dynamic is completely flipping. Llama's getting more capable by the month. DeepSeek's proving that efficiency and power can come from anywhere. Mistral's building a whole ecosystem. And this matters because for the first time in decades, you don't need a Silicon Valley team with billions in funding to build cutting-edge AI. You need the right idea, the right people, and access to the code. That access changes everything from who gets to build the next generation of tools to whether your data stays yours, to whether AI remains controlled by 3 companies or becomes as free and distributed as the internet itself. The biggest tech companies are now betting billions that open source wins. And here's where it gets interesting. They might actually be right. To understand why open source AI is winning right now, you need to rewind about 5 years. Back then, AI was completely different. OpenAI released GPT-3 and it was locked behind an API. You couldn't run it locally. You couldn't see how it worked. You sent your data to OpenAI's servers and got an answer back. Same story with Google's models, Meta's models, Anthropic's models. Everything was proprietary. The thinking was simple. These companies spent billions training these models, so they'd keep them as a competitive advantage and sell access to make money. It made perfect sense at the time, but that strategy had cracks from day one. First, companies using these APIs had zero control. If OpenAI changed pricing tomorrow, you're stuck. Your entire product depends on someone else's servers and their decisions. Second, nobody could see what these models were doing or how they made decisions. In regulated industries like finance or healthcare, that opacity is a nightmare. Third, the models were designed for OpenAI's priorities, not yours. They couldn't be customized. They couldn't run offline. They weren't optimized for specific industries or privacy needs. Developers started asking a simple question. What if we could train our own models? What if we could inspect them, control them, run them ourselves? And that question set everything in motion. Here's why open source AI is fundamentally different from what came before. When you can read the code, when you can run the model on your own hardware, you get something proprietary models can never give you: complete control. Think of it like email. For decades, you had to use Hotmail or Yahoo Mail. You uploaded your messages to their servers. You couldn't see how they worked. You couldn't move to another service without losing everything. Open source email changed that entirely. Linux, Apache, SendMail, suddenly anyone could run their own email server. You owned your data, you could customize everything. AI is going through that exact transition right now. An open source model like Llama isn't just software, it's a foundation. You can customize it for your industry. If you're a bank, you can fine-tune it on banking data without sharing that data with OpenAI. If you're a hospital, you can run it on premises for patient privacy. If you're a startup, you can run it on your own hardware instead of paying per API call. And here's the kicker, you can actually inspect what the model learned. That matters in industries where you need to explain decisions. A doctor can't just say the AI decided you have this disease without understanding why. Open source makes that transparency possible. This is where the real story starts. When technology stops being a black box and becomes something you can understand and control. Let's look at what's actually winning in open source right now, because the evidence is everywhere. Meta's Llama series is the most obvious example. Llama 3.1 was released earlier this year, and it's competitive with GPT-4 on many benchmarks. The fact that Meta released it openly, not locked behind a paywall, changed the entire game overnight. Thousands of companies are now building on top of Llama. It's become the foundation of an entire ecosystem. Mistral, a French AI company, proved you don't need massive resources to compete with Silicon Valley giants. Their 7 billion parameter model outperforms much larger models from bigger companies. They're open source, they're efficient, they're profitable. Then there's DeepSeek, a Chinese AI company, proving that innovation doesn't require Silicon Valley or massive funding. Their recent releases are state-of-the-art in reasoning and coding tasks, all open source. There's also Stability AI with their models for image generation. Llama, OpenWebUI, dozens of smaller models optimized for specific tasks. What's wild is that the ecosystem is accelerating exponentially. You've got companies like Hugging Face building infrastructure for open source models. You've got developers fine-tuning Llama for specific use cases, medical diagnosis, legal research, coding assistance. A startup can take Llama, fine-tune it on their specific data, and have a competitive product without spending billions. The speed of innovation in open source is now faster than proprietary. Models are improving every month. But here's what most coverage gets wrong. These companies didn't invent open source from scratch. So how do open source models actually compare to the proprietary ones? The honest answer is it depends on what you're measuring. On raw benchmark scores, the gap is closing incredibly fast. Llama 3.1 scores higher than GPT-4 on some reasoning benchmarks. DeepSeek outperforms Claude on certain coding tasks. For general conversation, the proprietary models still have advantages because they've had more fine-tuning and feedback from real users. But benchmarks don't tell the whole story. OpenAI's models are optimized for a specific thing, being good at everything. They are generalists. That costs a lot of money. Open source models are being optimized for specific tasks instead. There's a Llama fine-tuned specifically for medical diagnosis. There's Mistral optimized for coding. There's one built for the Japanese language. Specialists beat generalists on their specific task every single time. Let's talk about hardware costs, because this is where the real advantage shows. GPT-4 runs on OpenAI's servers. You pay per token. 1,000 tokens might cost you a penny or two. If you're processing millions of requests, that bill adds up fast. An open source model, you can run it on your hardware. Your cost is just electricity and the computer you already own. For large companies processing millions of requests, that's dramatically cheaper. For small companies, it means they can actually afford to build AI products at all. But here's where it gets complicated. Control isn't always good for everyone. Here's what this change means for the actual future we are building. First, it democratizes AI development across the entire world. Right now, if you want to compete with OpenAI, you need billions of dollars and access to specialized hardware. That's it. That's the only way. With open source, you need brilliant engineers and good ideas. That means AI development is about to explode in countries that couldn't participate before. India, Brazil, Korea, Poland, they're all going to build their own AI companies. They'll optimize models for their languages, their industries, their specific needs. The global economy gets more competitive, which is good for innovation, but hard for whoever's currently winning. Second, it changes power dynamics at every level. Right now, content creators can't train models on their own data without permission from OpenAI or Google. If you could run your own model, you could do it. That matters for artists worried about AI art, for writers building on their own content. Third, it creates a fragmentation problem that nobody's really solved yet. If everyone's running different models, tuned differently, how do they interact? The web standardized around HTML. Open source AI needs similar standards. We are not there yet. Fourth, this threatens the entire business model of companies like OpenAI. Their strategy was to be the only company with a competitive AI. If the competitive models are free and open source, how do you actually make money? Some companies will pivot to services. Some will pivot to research. Some will fail completely. This is the twist nobody expected. This might actually make the AI safety problem much harder to solve. If you want to start using open source AI right now, it's actually easier than you think. Here's your path forward. The easiest entry point is through websites like Hugging Face. Go to Hugging Face Co. You can run models directly in your browser. No installation, no cost. You can chat with Llama, Mistral, or dozens of other models instantly. That's point one. Point two, if you want to run models locally on your computer, there's Llama. Download it. Run a command like Llama run Llama 2, and you've got a powerful AI running on your own machine. No internet required once it's downloaded. No IPI bills ever. That's the whole pitch of open source. You control it completely. Point three, if you're a developer and want to build something with these models, there's Hugging Face's Transformers library. It's open source Python code that handles everything. Load a model, fine-tune it, deploy it. Thousands of developers are building the next generation of AI apps on top of open source models right now. Point 4. If you want to understand how these models work, the research papers are all freely available. Meta publishes their Llama papers. Mistral publishes theirs. You can read the actual architecture, the training approach, the data they used. You can replicate it. You can improve it. Point 5. If you want to contribute to open source AI, there's always something to do. Models need better documentation. They need more efficient implementations. They need fine-tuning for new languages and tasks. The barrier to entry is lower than you think, but the part that changes everything, the training data for these models, is complicated. So what's the verdict? Is open source AI going to win? The evidence is overwhelming. It already is winning, and the trend is accelerating. Every major company is now investing in open source models. Google released Llama. Meta's whole strategy is built on Llama. Even OpenAI is starting to open source smaller models because they understand the market has shifted. The proprietary approach is becoming untenable. But, and this is critical, open source doesn't mean free. And it doesn't mean better at everything. It means something fundamentally different. It means transparent. It means adaptable. It means you're not locked into one company's decisions and priorities. For most applications, that's hugely valuable. What changes for you specifically? If you're building AI products, you have options now. You're not dependent on OpenAI or Google's whims. If you're a company concerned about data privacy, you can run models on your own infrastructure. If you're in a country with restricted internet access, you can use open source without worrying about IPI blocks. The bigger picture, AI is shifting from being controlled by a few companies to being a distributed technology. That's how every powerful technology evolves. It starts proprietary and expensive. Then open source disrupts it. Then it becomes as ubiquitous as the internet itself. Open source AI is that disruption happening right now. The most interesting question isn't whether open source will win, it's what gets built when the technology is finally in everyone's hands. That's where the real innovation starts. Follow for daily AI news.